Well, it's a little bit of both. You know, he's shown us some very good improvement. You see him really getting more and more comfortable playing with more confidence, and it had a lot to do with game planning. We really felt good about some of the things that we were going to do, and it really suited him very well.
When you see him not maybe thinking as much or letting it rip like Jackson, how do you see that?
That's exactly what. Well, really, you don't see the hesitation. You know what I'm saying? When the ball's snapped, there's usually a 1-2, and then we go. Now we're starting to see the things that, now you can feel it. It's become a little more natural for him in terms of what he reads, believing what he sees. Part of getting these guys, from the college ranks is obviously the offenses are a little bit different. And now learning these techniques, it hampered him a little bit, but now he seems to be getting the flow of it. He's moving very quickly, getting good reads, and trusting himself.
We got a mic over here. For Antonio, just a year and a half in, kind of to his career, how much of his skill set is there still to unlock?
Oh, there's a lot. And the hard part is, having the shin injury the last couple of weeks. He really hadn't gotten the type of practice he needs, especially at the running back position, to understand, that, hey, in certain plays against certain defenses this week, this is what you've got to do. These are the little things that you've got to work on. And I do think he's just really still scratching the surface. I think you can see it. The unfortunate one, and which would have been a really good one to see, is if he doesn't trip coming through the crease. Just see what would happen. I mean, because those are the types of explosive plays that we believe we can get from him. We saw those last year. He's been on the cusp a couple of times.
What little things in practice is he maybe missing the most?
Well, a lot of times when you're working on learning to press, the whole part of it is as your blockers are engaged, it's how the defense is reacting. What do you see beyond the initial contact of your guard or your tackles that are in front of you with the double teams, and how does that open up as you go through it?
And this last one, obviously JD plays a huge role in the passing game, but Antonio, aside from the screen in Buffalo, maybe hasn't flashed there as much. Is there anything that you can attribute that to, or is that just JD's?
No, that's JD's thing. I mean, JD's very dynamic out of the backfield, and he creates a lot of mismatches, and that's the thing that we've used we used last year, and we're trying to make sure we don't miss. We use it this year.
Ron, when you're assembling a roster, obviously the goal is to get as much talent as possible. I'm sure for some players there's a lean that talent gets a little more runway to kind of show what they can do. What's that line that some players are debate of like, look, there may be other guys where it's a better fit, and I've got to eventually move off of that. Suppose it's a bigger talent. What's that thought process for a coach who goes through?
Well, I mean, and the hard part too is it's not just about the talent. There's other things that we have to take into consideration in terms of the cap and all that stuff. But, as you look at guys, you look at players, you're trying to project fit, and the thing that also comes along with it too is also how quickly they pick things up, how quickly they understand things. And then, if a guy does have a little bit of a background and it, you can expect certain things out of him when you're waiting to see those things. But, and Jamin's a great example. We know who Jamin is in terms of his athletic ability and stuff like that. Now it's a matter of getting more and more comfortable with what you're doing. And as he does that, you see he'll play faster and faster, which we've seen these last couple of weeks. We've seen some really good things from him that, really get us excited as coaches, especially defensive coaches, when you watch a guy that, now he's using his full skill set. I mean, when you see Jamin range from one side to the other, I mean, that's what we saw on tape coming out of Kentucky. He was the best linebacker coming out of the SEC for a reason. A very productive guy, and we've seen that in the last 2 weeks.
Specify a little bit. So obviously, you mentioned there's other factors. You mentioned the status in general of a player to be a factor. To look at what happened this last week, Landon Collins played a little bit less. You said his role is going to change in that lesser snap with Dave Johnson, the guy who was on the practice squad, non-drafted straight. He actually ends up playing more because he's playing at that corner spot. So, like from that status standpoint, how do you look at it? Like, is that a tough call for a coach sometimes to go to a guy who's on a status level that's not the same as?
No, that's completely. Those are two completely different positions. We asked Danny to use basically his corner skill set, and that's really what Danny did. He came in, and it's stuff we saw from last year. That's why, being able to keep him on the practice squad, and then when we got a chance and we had to activate him because of injury, Danny got his chance again, and he's a very reliable guy. He's a very smart football player. What he lacks in certain athletic abilities, he makes up in his football intelligence, which is very high. So, trying to compare those two wouldn't fit because two completely different skill sets, two completely different positions, and what we asked each one to do is completely different as well.
And I guess I was looking at it as like the fifth defensive back. You had to use a lot of free safeties one way or the other. This week, you went more three corners, even though the guy you were using he hadn't had a defensive snap in the season. That was the sort of way.
Okay, no. Again, based on the things that we know about Danny and haven't seen him during training camp, we felt pretty good about him being able to handle those positions. We really did, because again, that's what he did and that's what he played in the preseason for us.
Speaking of Landon in that hybrid role, he was saying there are some things that he has to read differently. How is he coming along in that area? What did you see some things the other day that maybe was more progress for him?
Well, I really liked the matchups he had in terms of his coverages, and then what I really liked was his ability to get downhill and attack the line of scrimmage, which we really did see. And those are the things that really stick out about Landon's game. Is he's an attack-oriented player. We blitzed him a little bit more than we had in the past. And what it does is it creates opportunities for him at the line, which helps us. I mean, when you're making plays at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage, it's going to impact the defense a little bit better. And that's probably the biggest thing we got from him was his impact in terms of, instead of it being, 2nd and 6 or something like that, now we're looking at 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, because, he got that feel for attacking.
He is a guy who's used to playing a lot. So when the snaps are down in a particular game, you go to him and say, hey, this is a one that, sure he knew going into the game.
Yeah. Well, and
Manage that part.
Yeah, and he sees that. I mean, he understands it based on the way we practice, and that's one of the things, But again, playing the position he has, he's still gonna play a majority of the snaps. It's just, again, based on what the game plan is going to call for.
or anything along those lines, or really slow tempo down exactly. How do you find that you're able to make those kinds of things up? Because you said that's kind of what helps with tackling and things of that nature. How can
Yep.
how can you simulate that when you're cutting periods, you don't have enough bodies and everything else like that?
Well, what we've been able to do the last 2 weeks is this Wednesday practice has been padded. What we did do was we did move a couple of things around when we had 4 action periods where we had pads on, which was really good for the guys. We did that last week. We preached up tempo. They were physical. They were bumping around. Still getting the feel for having the pads on, and that's one of the things that you want to be able to do. Prior to that, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we weren't able to do that, where we put the pads on, simulate the contact, simulate the tackling in kind of a live type of setting. Not quite live, but movement was more game oriented.
And then, if I may ask, where did you learn this methodology? Like, when these kind of injuries come up, how did you learn this? Like, this is the way to adjust for this particular situation. If you don't.
Well, when we were in Carolina, when we made our nice little run we had going, when we started looking at down, right at the middle of the season before you have your bye, that's where you start seeing the knick-knack injuries starting to come up. And so what was happening was on Wednesday we weren't practicing guys at all. And so what we did was we took a look at the practice script and said, hey, if we take these periods and turn these specific plays into install and walkthrough plays, our guys that are missing practice because they can't get out there and we don't want to run around, they can actually get those reps even though it is slowed down tempo. So we started doing that and splitting the practices in half. So what became really a half walkthrough and then a half action period where we could actually have other guys in pads getting those plays done. So it's something that we use, and we've been using it since 2013. We used it last year. We implemented it as well right around this time of the year. One thing we did do last year when we got to the very end of the season, we started Wednesday practice without any pads, any helmets, And that way everybody practiced. And then by Friday, we had the helmet and shells on. So we kind of did it backwards. But on Friday, we were really conscious and tried to make sure the guys understood that this was about practicing fast with up tempo. And we used it throughout the entire month of December last year. Yeah. Last year we were. I mean, last year, things really seemed to come together at the end of the year. And I think a lot of it had to do with the way we practiced with the tempo. Thought the guys played faster. And really at that time of year, it's really more about, installing the game plans and being confident in what we were doing, because by then, you really don't have to do the type of warm-ups that you were doing the first 8-9 weeks of the season. You should be past those basic skills.
Hey, Ron, I know last year you started 2-7. The division at that time was kind of a jumble mess. Everybody was kind of on the same playing field. But this year, a little different. There's some separation with Dallas up front, and here you are 2-5. Do you feel like there's does it feel different where maybe there's a more sense of urgency because you don't want to get that separation and too far behind come December when you get all those division games?
Correct, and that's the thing that we talked about today during the meeting, was that with the way things are, the only thing that's being delineated right now in the NFC is really who the division leaders are. Other than that, there's a big jumble of people. So the thing that I told our guys we have to do is we have to now control what's happening. More so than anything else, it's on us. Looking at going through the month of November, it's really, we have to approach it one at a time, play them one at a time, win them one at a time to get us to December. If we get into December in the right frame of mind, right opportunity, right situation we're in, anything can happen because we're playing 5 divisional games.
And for you, yesterday was a special day. 1 year to ringing the bell. Wondering what that was like, reflecting on that, and did you kind of have a special celebration or something with your family, or what was that day like, kind of reflecting back on that moment?
No, it was cool. Actually, my daughter had to remind me of it, and then Stephanie followed up, my son followed up, and then several friends as well. It, again, just being very fortunate, very blessed, and very thankful, especially to the folks at Innova Cancer. My doctors, all the nurses and support staff that were just tremendous during this whole time, as well as the folks and people around here and fans. Really appreciate, their thoughts and prayers. But it was really cool. It was.
Just to follow up on that, are there still things you're doing or monitoring, or are you still having to lay low at times?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's still some things that do slow me down. I'm still trying to, go through the recovery. I do have doctor's appointments and I still have checkups that I have to go through. Dental every 3 months. I see one of my other doctors every other 3 months. So, yeah, there's just still a few things left to go.
I wanted to ask you about the defensive line. Seems like they've been playing better the last few weeks. What would you attribute that to? What are they doing well?
It's interesting because I thought this past week and the week before, actually, you could really see them in sync in terms of the way they were rushing together. That was one of the things I really thought they've really stepped up, has been very good. And then you've also seen in the last 2 weeks, for the most part, the rush and the coverage seem to be in sync as well. The understanding that, third and medium to long is, hey, we've got time, we can pin our ears back, we can go. Third and medium to short, now it's about making sure that we can connect quicker in terms of coverage, which will help the pass rush. So you're starting to see that as far as that's concerned. Run gaps have been really good. You see the guys, again, getting that feel for holding their creases, splitting the doubles, getting vertical into their creases, and really being accountable for those things. So, I feel very comfortable with what this will be a really good challenge. This is a really good rushing offense. So this will be a good challenge as far as where we are if we have taken the strides that we have, or at least appeared the last couple of weeks.
Hey, Ron, when your defense is struggling like the way it has been and you guys perform better like you did on Sunday, do you have to be careful of not judging that on a curve, like that, that you're not lowering the bar, so to say?
No, and I agree with that. You do have to be careful. You say, oh, wow, we did this was good, but, at the end of the day, we still lost. I mean, it's about winning, and when you win, things do most certainly look and feel better. And that's the big thing we have to always, keep in mind. But one thing that losing does tell you the truth. And so as you watch it and you look at it, you can feel good about some of the things that have happened. Will we build on those things? Yes. Will we try to correct the ones that were incorrect? Absolutely. Because as I said, the big thing in the ultimate is it really is about winning and playing better. I do like the fact that they did play hard. I do like the fact that, they played up to the very end, because we kept ourselves in it for the most part until it really got away at the very end.
Yeah, it's kind of the same stuff I talked to you guys after the game about. A couple bad breaks here and there. Okay, we just got to be better. Obviously, the interception can't happen. That's been, 2 or 3 weeks now that's happened. So still continuing to work on that, be smart in the red zone. But, yeah, we got to punch it in when we get down there.
There are some instances where your passes are kind of high to receivers. Is that a mechanic thing, or what do you think that?
Probably just missed throws. Everyone has them here and there. So I'll just say it's a missed throw.
Sliding, taking care of yourself, but also, wanting to embrace those parts of your game. Do you feel like you found that balance?
Yeah. And it's funny that you kind of bring that up. That's what I was thinking about on that touchdown run. Those guys were kind of closing in on me. Going back and look at film, I could have ran it in. But in the heat of the moment, I thought they were closing in quicker, and I wanted to protect myself and get in the end zone at the same time. So it's really unfortunate that happened. But, yeah, I think throughout the past 2-3 weeks, I've started to find that line where I can be aggressive but also stay healthy.
When you do find that line, how do you think that helps you as a quarterback, or what can you do maybe once you know where that line is?
I don't know. I'm not really thinking about that during the game. It's something that just pops up. When I'm in danger, don't want to get hurt, get down before those big guys hit you. And again, when you have room to run, take whatever you can get and get down.
Death here. We live with it all the time. Ron talked about how he feels like you guys have been showing improvement week to week, but it hasn't showed as a win the last couple weeks. How much emphasis is on that this week? Just really proving how much you've grown by getting the win and showing that.
Yeah, a lot of guys are feeling it. Again, you go back and look at the film. We didn't punt once. We were moving the ball on them pretty well. And I feel like we played a lot better than 10 points. I think a lot of people feel that way too. So, again, we move the ball well, but when we get down the red zone, you got to score touchdowns. That's how you win games. So that's going to be a big point of emphasis this week.
Off the board for a second, you were at ODU when you guys moved up to Division 1A. That today they accepted an invite into the Sun Belt. Do you follow that? What do you make of them moving up another notch?
Yeah, I saw that on Instagram when I got back to the locker room. And again, I don't really know how much that works, but I know that we'll have a new set of rivalries that I feel like we get every 3 years. So it's exciting. Hopefully they can take advantage of it.
Players seem to be energized when you use your wings a lot. Do you feel energized? Do you feel a difference in your game, even on the field, a different comfort level, rhythm for yourself?
Other than being super tired after long runs, I can feel that with the guys. There's numerous times this past week where you go off for a long run and a bunch of offensive linemen are pumped up. It just helps them. It helps receivers get open, gets the defense on their heels a little bit. They have to think about that. So when that stuff pops up and arises, it's good for all of us, and the guys like that.
Were there more design runs for you this week? Potential design runs, some of the read options or whatever. Were there more of those this week?
There was one specific play that we ran a couple times, just because some things that we saw on film, we thought that it could work, and they did in certain situations. So we had one ready for them.
Last thing, there are a couple times in the last couple games where some of those screen passes look like they could be really big plays, but they end up in like 4-yard gains. What's going on with, and I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, there were like 3 or 4 instances. What's happening there that's maybe preventing those from becoming bigger plays?
Yeah, so screens are the very detailed plays. So whether it's me getting enough depth to get him the ball, throwing him a good ball, him being on the right landmark, and then the offensive lineman taking the right angles for their guys. So a lot of things have to happen correctly for those things to work. And again, you look back on the film, there's very close to being big plays. And that's not just last week, but previous weeks as well. So, again, that's something that we harp on and we work on and hopefully get better at.
You're a guy who knows how opportunities in the league can be pretty fleeting, and like Michael said, 3 straight losses. Do you feel like you need a really good personal performance this week to show coaches that this job should be yours after the bye? Is that something that's on your mind at all?
No. Again, my only job is to go out there, move the chains, don't turn the ball over, and win games. And if that means I throw for 120 yards or 400 yards, I don't care. As long as we go out there and get a win, that's all that matters to me. And again, that's not my mind.
On the throw to Humphries that got picked off, was that just bad placement on your part, or maybe trying to throw a back shoulder and he wasn't on the same page? Could you just kind of break it down there?
Yeah, so it was kind of the same situation against the Saints when I tried to throw it to Curtis, where the guy's back is turned while I'm starting to throw the ball, and I felt like they were even, so I wanted to give him a back shoulder throw. If you go back and look at the tape, if I just threw it to the back pylon, probably was going to be a touchdown. But again, you go back and right when I throw the ball, those guys turn their head, and for them to be able to track it the whole way, it's easy for those corners. So again, just had to have a smarter mindset there, and maybe just live to see another down.
Just to follow up on the previous question, when you joined this team, it was almost like you had nothing to lose, and you're just playing, like you had nothing to lose. How would you describe that mindset now, being in that position to maintain that starting job?
Yeah. So I kind of go back. You go back 2 weeks ago against the Saints and the Chiefs. I had a different mindset to where I didn't want to lose the job, and that resulted in bad play, in my opinion. I think when I go out there and just have fun and have nothing to lose, that's when I feel like I'm at my best. So Green Bay was easy for me to go up there and play like that. It was a dream come true. I feel like a little kid out there just playing in the stadium I've always wanted to play in. And I feel like I had a good game, just, a couple things here and there that just didn't work out. So I feel like the mindset of playing like you have nothing to lose is when I play my best.
Taylor, Ron has said that because of the injuries, you guys have had to make adjustments in practices, like cutting certain periods and things of that nature. But in addition to that, you guys as players have been saying you guys have had a bunch of good practices. Just kind of where is that met in the middle? I know that there's not as much of a padded periods, I believe, at this point in time, and you guys taking some stuff out. But what has made these practices so good, considering that some of the stuff that you guys usually would work on, you're not working on at this time?
Yeah. He really harped on it last week after that Chiefs game that, how you practice, how you're going to play. And we had a great week of practice last week, and I felt we played a great game. Again, we come up short, but I feel like we played a good game. Just a couple things that came up short. But, again, we had a great practice today. Guys have a sense of urgency out there. We're trying to get better every day, every play. So, again, we're building on something special here in practice, and it rolls over to games. So you've seen that in the last week or two with these guys.
Do you feel like because you guys know the practices are a little bit shorter or because like you guys are running through the installation period more so than like say pads and things of that nature, do you guys feel like players may be going at it a little bit more seriously because there is less time and there is the importance of making every rep count? I don't know. Does that make sense? Sort of?
It makes sense. I'd say that is really only relevant for Wednesday practices. Some guys are still feeling a little banged up throughout the week, and so the more walkthroughs we have, that's more mental reps for them, and kind of keep them off their feet during padded practices and kind of give those second stringers more of a deal. So I would say that's more of a Wednesday deal. But, again, the guys are locked in, and the practices are definitely rolling over through the games.
Hey, Taylor, 2 of your best games came in obviously emotional situations for you, going back home to Atlanta and going to Green Bay and everything that meant for you. Do you respond better, perhaps, when you have those emotional pushes?
Maybe. I think it comes down to just playing the game that you loved, growing up. And when I'm in those situations, I feel that way. You have your family, your friends there, and you just want to go out there and play some football. So I'm going to try and carry that over to Denver and weeks after that. But I get what you're saying. But I think, back to your question, just playing like there's nothing to lose, I feel like that's when I play my best.
You got any ants or anything in Denver?
just to follow up on kind of what you were telling Darren about that different mindset that you had against the Saints and the Chiefs, how did that, like, I don't know if you were technically, like, worried about losing your job, but, like, how does that doubt kind of creep in, or how did you kind of process that?
I don't know if it's doubt. I think it's just trying to be perfect, like I said before. Try to be on top of every single read and make the perfect throw and trying to stay in the pocket and give those guys, it's just more of just go out and play your ball. I was trying to be someone I wasn't. So, yeah, that's something I'm working on, and hopefully, Green Bay rolls on over to Denver.
It was pretty good. I still just got to get back in the swing of things and stuff like that, but it felt pretty good. I was happy as hell.
What are the specific things that you missed just even about practice?
Just being out there with the guys, just doing day-to-day grind with the fellas, just going out there going to war.
And what are a couple of the specific things that you need to see from yourself before you're going to be ready maybe to play?
Just doing like the little small things, just getting in and out of breaks and stuff like that. Just keep working on the little small things.
The wide receiver room has had some injuries in general. It's not just you. What have you made of the way that the group has been able to respond, especially since you guys have been productive?
Next man up. We got that motto, it won't be no fall-offs, and everybody just go keep doing what they got to do to make the team better.
Was it hard for you earlier in the year because you're getting all sorts of reps with the first team, then season opens and you're not getting quite as much. Was that difficult for you?
Nah. I do whatever I can do to make the team win and stuff like that. So, it was what it was.
What have you seen from this offense that when you get back out there that you feel like you can provide and help?
Just going out there doing what I do. I know what I can bring, and they know what I can bring. So, I like being out there.
As like basically the tallest receiver in the group, you may have a different view than others. What's it like when you were catching passes from Ryan Fitzpatrick versus Taylor Heinicke, a smaller guy? Did you notice any difference for you out there?
Nah, it was no difference. I tell them all, just throw it to me, and we go get the job done.
I take it just in terms of how you're feeling, the fact that you're even here talking to us, I take it that we saw you out there today. Do you feel like pretty confident going into this week?
Oh, yeah. I've been working real hard to get to where I'm at right now, so I feel great.
What have you made of the way Taylor's played and kind of just maybe the energy he's brought to the offense from how you've watched him?
Just watching him, I see he doing a great job to me. Of course, I've been out, so I really don't know what's going on. But in my eyes, he's doing a great job to me.
And has it been frustrating for you after having kind of a breakout year last year to have this setback early on and prevent you from maybe building on what you did in 2020?
Nah, I just control what I can control and stuff like that. So, I just put in the work, and all the work will come out.